Hey crafty friends, Jen Cassell here. Welcome back to my channel. I'm really excited to share with you the elf box that I created for Scrapdiva Designs. This one I did in conjunction with Buttons Galore and More. I shared this on Instagram and oh my gosh, just so stinking cute. So I used the elf mini album die from Scrapdiva Designs. Along with the Buttons Galore and More subscription box, I got these amazing striped buttons here, as well as the peppermint buttons that you see on the bows at the top. The shaker mix is just full of grinchiness. I absolutely love it. Use the candy cane alphabet at the bottom to spell out joy. This little gumdrop right here is from the Buttons Galore and More subscription box. I used a few of the snowflakes that are included in the Grinchy mix. Just so much fun. And of course, this opens up. It's a pretty generously sized box, so you could fit a ton of embellishments in here. You could easily do a gift card and some chocolates, but super, super cute. So I also did this one right here. In this, I use Miss Kate Huttable's Candy Cane Christmas for this one. Just so pretty. I love this collection. This collection is an older one from Die Cuts with a View, and it's Dear Santa. In addition to the elf mini album, you're also going to want the elf or the large elf bow die. And I just, oh my gosh, it's so cute how these turned out. So I am going to include a tutorial. Stay tuned. All of the components that we're going to need laid out, and I'll go through the die with you. You're going to need 2 bases, and I'm doing my box in pink. So it's this die right here. You need 2 of these. I used a basil cardstock, so it's about 90 pounds, I would say. I am layering this. There's going to be 3 layers to it, so you don't need to have a 110-pound cardstock for this and still have a really sturdy piece. So I also cut out this stitched layer right here, and this is going to be the top of my box. As you can see in my example, I did this in plaid, and then I also did it on the back as well. You are going to want 2 more of the stitched layers, and in my example, I did this white printed mistletoe paper, and I did it on the top of the box. 2 of this layer, and this is what's going to make your shaker piece. You could also cut it out of foam, but for my tutorial, I'm just going to be using some Barely Art cubies for this. They're the perfect size. I'm going to want a piece of acetate. I cut it at 5.5 by 4. I did 2 of this layer here, and I did that in the snowflake paper and this checked. You're also going to want the belt buckle. I cut this out 3 times, twice out of glitter cardstock and then 1 out of 110-pound cardstock, so it's really nice and thick. And then this is going to be the belt. And once again, I did layer this up. I did cut it twice. I did it with the glitter and then 110-pound cardstock. This is just pattern paper from the collection. In addition to the die itself, to create your box, you're going to want basil cardstock. So I'm using about 90-pound cardstock. I cut that to 5 3/4 by 7 1/4, and I did a second piece that's just cut 1/8 of an inch smaller. I did 5 5/8 by 7 1/8, and then I just cut the pieces to layer on the interior of my box. The box measures 3 3/4 by 5 1/4. So I just cut that down by 1/8 for the larger of the 2, and then I took another 1/8 off for this. The sides of the box are going to measure about 1 inch wide, so you're just going to want 7/8 of an inch strips for the exterior of your box, And then once again, just take 1/8 of an inch off these measurements and go from there. I am also using the large elf bow die from Scrapdiva Designs. To create the bow like this, all I do is cut apart that back layer and put it on either side so that you can get a tail that kind of comes down like this. And then of course I curl the ends with a bone folder. Also included in the die set are the bells, and I did cut them out of that same pink glitter cardstock. I cut them 3 times, so I did it twice in the glitter cardstock and then one in 110-pound cardstock. Okay, so to start off with, all I did was glue my stitched pieces onto the cardstock base, and I did that for both of these. With this one, I did glue down that first shaker square here, or shaker rectangle, and then I put together this. So the outline I glued together just so that I could have a sturdier piece. And then this one, I curled the ends and added those little bells that I had cut out. To do so, I just used a really tiny hole punch to get in there and then added some jump rings too. I've also glued together the belt portion. I have also glued that second rectangle onto the acetate layer that I had cut out. And now I'm gonna go in with my cubies and just start laying it right on top of this layer. Okay, so I've added my cubies to this. I've really pressed everything down to activate that glue. Now, you will notice that I did put a couple of strips right in here. This also acts as a support for the belt when I go to press that on. And then the same thing up here with the layer panel that I'm going to put at the top. It also creates compartments for your shakers, so you don't have to use as much of your shaker mix, and you're going to be able to see it at the top as well, even when it's kind of sitting like this. So I am going to go in with my shaker mix. All right, now that I have my shaker mix in there, I am just going to take off the protective layer of the cubies and apply my acetate layer. All right, now that I have my acetate layer on, I'm going to start building my elf. So the first thing that I'm going to do is grab my belt and line it up like so. Then I'm going to add my belt buckle, and I did pop that up with some foam dots as well. So I'm gonna go in with some just barely art glue for this portion. I'm gonna line up that top. Actually going to let it overlap just a little bit. And I'll use barely art for this as well. I'm just gonna line it up with the piece that we just applied. I find it very handy to have those strips of cubies in the background, really supporting that while you press down on your shaker portion. And now I'm going to add my top layer, and you're just gonna line that up with what you just applied. And I am using some cubie strips for this. Gosh, so stinking cute, right? Now I'm going to hot glue my bows to the front. Okay, so we have the front of our box completed. I am going to add a little cluster in here, but I will save that for a moment. Let's work on our box right now. Okay, so these are my boxes. I've just added the patterned paper layers to it. As you can see, for the outside of my box, I'm doing the candy cane. And then on the interior of the box, I've laid down the middle portion as well as these two pieces here. I have not added the side panels because I still need to glue my tabs. I did the exact same thing for this one right here. So once again, these are just 1-inch tabs here. And once I've scored those fold lines, I am going to come over to this side here and just cut up along that score line. I'm gonna take out just a little bit of an angle here to allow for some movement. Same thing on this side here. And I'm going to do that to all 4 tabs. All right.